Gather round, children of the coast, and listen well before the evening tide swallows the sun. This is the tale of Amani Wa Rashid, a young woman whose heart dared to see beyond rags and titles. It is said that when love is pure, even the ancestors whisper blessings through the palms. But when pride blinds the eyes, fortune may hide in humble skins. They say in Mjiwa Barari, a small Swahili village kissed by the blue breath of the Indian Ocean, there once lived a hunter named Jabori. To the people, he was poor, a man who carried only a bow, a smile, and a dream. Yet the spirits of the wind knew another truth. The hunter's path was carved not by poverty, but by destiny. The morning sun rose over Mjiwa Barari like molten gold poured upon the palms. The ocean murmured softly to the shore, its rhythm joining the calls of fishermen mending nets and women pounding millet in clay mortars. The smell of coconut oil, sea salt, and roasting cassava mingled in the air, the scent of another day's beginning. In the heart of the village, Amani Wa Rashid balanced a woven basket on her hip as she crossed the market square. Her kanga, bright red and patterned with golden swirls, fluttered in the sea breeze. Beneath her calm beauty was a curious spirit, one that often wandered beyond her parents' careful expectations. Asubuhin Jema, Amani, called the old coconut seller. Asubuhin Jema, Mzi Juma, she replied warmly, bowing slightly in respect. Amani was the daughter of Mzi Rashid, a wealthy spice merchant, and Mama Z, known for her elegance and pride. Their home, painted coral white and surrounded by flowering bougainvillea, sat near the mosque's tall minaret, a place where wealth and reputation walked hand in hand. Her parents loved her dearly but guarded her future fiercely. You must marry wisely, her mother would say. A daughter of Rashid, cannot live among fishermen and hunters. Amani would smile and nod, but inside her heart whispered different dreams, of laughter, freedom, and a love unmeasured by gold. That morning, as she returned from the market, a commotion rippled near the forest edge. Children ran shouting, "Simba! Simba! A lion has entered the banana grove." Men grabbed spears and hurried toward the sound. Amani's heart pounded as she followed the villagers to the clearing. There, standing calmly with a bow drawn and eyes steady, was Jabori. He was tall and broad-shouldered, his skin sun-warmed, his hair tied back with a strip of leather. He wore a simple vest and carried a quiver of arrows slung across his back. In front of him lay a magnificent lion, already fallen, its golden eyes dim. The villagers gasped in awe. "By the ancestors," murmured one elder. "He brought it down alone." Jabori nodded modestly, bowing before the carcass. The lion came near the children's path. "I did only what must be done." Amani felt something stir deep within her, not fear, but admiration. The man before her held power, yet moved with humility. When his gaze lifted and met hers, time slowed. The sea wind whispered through the palms, carrying the faint scent of jasmine and salt. That evening, the village gathered to honor Jabori's bravery. Fires crackled, drums rolled, and roasted meat filled the air. Amani, seated beside her grandmother Bibi Safia, watched the hunter from across the flames. "Bibi," she whispered, "who is that man?" "The hunter with the quiet eyes." Bibi Safia chuckled softly, her silver bangles clinking as she leaned closer. "Ah, my child. That one is Jabori, son of no known father, raised by the forest and the spirits of the hunt. He comes and goes like the wind, humble, yet strong." "He saved the children," Amani said, eyes fixed on him. "Yes," Bibi nodded. "And yet, some call him cursed, for he owns no land, no cattle, no dowry." Amani frowned. "Cursed? For living simply." Bibi's eyes glimmered in the firelight. "The world often mistakes simplicity for weakness, my child. But remember this proverb, Uzitize mgwo, tazama moyo. Do not look at the clothes, look at the heart." Her grandmother's words echoed long into the night. The next day, fate brought Amani and Jabori together once more. She was collecting water by the river when he appeared, barefoot and carrying a basket of fish. He smiled politely. "You should not be here alone, Binti Rashid, daughter of Rashid. The crocodiles sometimes come close." Amani lifted her chin with quiet confidence. "I am not afraid, Bwana Hunter. The river knows me as I know it." Jabori laughed softly, his voice warm as the morning sun. "You speak like one who listens to the earth. Few from your home do." Amani smiled. "And you speak like one who hides more than fish in his basket." He raised an eyebrow, amused. Perhaps I do. Perhaps it carries stories instead, of mountains, of storms, of places you've never seen. Then tell me one, she challenged. So he did, of distant lands across the ocean, of vast estates beyond the forest, of caravans trading gold and spices. His words painted pictures vivid as dawn. Amani listened, enraptured, though she could not understand how a man who claimed poverty spoke with such worldly knowledge. Before leaving, Jabori reached into his satchel and handed her a small charm, a carved wooden pendant shaped like a crescent moon. For protection, he said. The sea favors those who keep its secrets. Their fingers brushed, and the air seemed to hum softly between them. That night, Amani lay awake beneath her mosquito net, clutching the charm. The moonlight spilled across her face, and she whispered, Jabori. Her heart knew what her mind dared not admit. She was falling in love. Welcome, my beautiful family and friends. If you re-hooked in and you re-ready to enjoy this story, click subscribe and let me know in the comments where you re-watching from, because, tomorrow, I will be giving you another story just as interesting as this one. And you don't want to miss it. Now let's begin. The next morning, whispers began to spread through the market. Amani had been seen by the river, laughing with the poor hunter. Mamazui's voice thundered through the courtyard when she heard. Highway Zekani, she cried. My daughter will not lower herself to a man who smells of the forest. But what neither she nor Mzee Rashid knew was that the hunter's past hid a secret vast as the ocean, one that could turn their world upside down. That evening, Amani stood beneath the old baobab tree where Jabori had first given her the charm. The sea wind rustled the leaves like whispered warnings. Will you come tomorrow? She asked as he approached, his eyes reflecting moonlight. I will always come, Jabori replied softly, even if your world turns against me. He touched her cheek gently. But if your heart chooses me, Amani, it will not be an easy path. Your parents will fight the tide. She smiled sadly. Then let the tide come. My heart has already chosen. The moon rose higher, silvering their silhouettes, two souls bound by fate, unaware of the storm brewing beyond the horizon. Far away, in the city of Mombasa, a convoy of black vehicles arrived at a grand coastal estate. Inside, an old steward bowed to his returning master, a man who looked strikingly like Jabori. The man handed him his bow and quiver. Prepare the letters, he said. It is time my family learns the truth. The steward hesitated. Sir, will they know who you are this time? Jabori's voice was low, calm, but heavy with resolve. They will. The days of hiding behind a hunter's name are nearly done. What does this remind you of from your own heritage? Have you ever seen true worth hidden behind humble appearances? The sun was a red drum sinking into the sea when Amani's father, Mzee Bakery, called for the evening council in their compound. The air smelled of roasted maize and sea salt, and the voices of fishermen returning home echoed through the coconut groves. Amani knew that tone in her father's summons. It was the same tone he used when goats went missing or when fishermen disobeyed the tides. Trouble had arrived. Her mother, Mama Zawadi, sat beside him under the mango tree, her lasso cloth bright against the fading light. Around them, a few relatives gathered, uncles, aunts, and the local imam, who had known Amani since her birth. In Swahili tradition, matters of the heart were never private. Love was a river that flowed through families and ancestors alike. Daughter of my blood, Mzee Bakery began, his deep voice carrying the authority of generations. We have heard whispers that you walk with a hunter named Jabori Wa Mamba. Is this true? Amani's heart thudded. She glanced at her mother, who looked away, her face tight with worry. Yes, Baba, she said softly, her voice steady. Jabori is my friend, and my choice. A hush fell over the gathering. The crickets outside seemed to hold their breath. Mzee Bakery's walking stick struck the earth. A hunter, a man who spends his days chasing animals in the forest, living on what the spirits of the wild may offer him? Have you forgotten who you are, Amani? You are the daughter of a chief fisherman. Our family has traded pearls and spices since before your grandfather's time. Her uncle, Chacha, chimed in, shaking his head. People in the village talk, Amani. They say Jabori has no home of stone, no land, no title. How can you bring such a man into this family? Amani stood firm, though her palms trembled. Baba, uncle, Jabori is not what he seems. He is kind, wise, and honorable. He listens to the wind, and he honors the spirits of the hunt. He has taught me more about humility than gold ever could. Mama Zawadi's eyes softened for a moment before duty returned to her expression. My daughter, love cannot fill an empty pot, she murmured. The world is not gentle to women who marry poverty. Amani's throat burned. She wanted to tell them about the day Jabori had saved a child from a charging buffalo, how he gave half his meat to widows and orphans, how his laughter brought peace even to angry storms. But she saw it would not matter. To them, worth was counted in land, livestock, and dowry. Your heart is young, her father said, calmer now but still firm. You do not see what lies beyond tomorrow. You will not meet him again. I have spoken. He stood, signaling the discussion was over. That night, Amani lay awake listening to the ocean's murmur through the open window. The moon spilled across her floor like a silver blessing, and she whispered into it, O spirits of the ancestors, if my heart has erred, show me. But if love is true, make a way. Somewhere deep in the mangrove forests, Jabori lifted his gaze toward the same moon. His loyal hound, Simba, slept beside him. The stars flickered like old friends. Even the moon must hide behind clouds sometimes, he said softly. But clouds always move. What Amani did not know was that Jabori carried a secret deeper than any ocean tide. Days later came the Festival of the Dows, a celebration of the sea's bounty. The entire village gathered by the shore. Women laid mats of woven palm leaves, and men raised tall wooden masts decorated with cowrie shells and colored sails. Drums thumped like beating hearts. The scent of grilled tilapia, coconut rice, and cardamom filled the air. Amani, radiant in a kitenge patterned with gold and indigo, moved through the crowd with her friends. She hoped to see Jabori one last time, to say goodbye if nothing else. But fate had its own script. The crowd parted as a convoy of polished white vehicles rolled to the edge of the beach. The villagers gasped. Rarely did they see such machines here. Out stepped men in crisp linen suits and sunglasses, followed by one tall man in a plain brown kanzu, barefoot, his posture humble yet powerful. The murmurs began. Is that not Jabori the hunter? Someone whispered. No, impossible, another said. Look at those men. They bow to him. Indeed, the suited men greeted Jabori with respect, calling him Bwana Jabori. He nodded politely before turning to the village chief, offering an envelope sealed with gold wax. Mzee Bakari, who had been inspecting fish near the boats, froze. Bwana Jabori, he repeated, disbelief thick in his voice. The hunter smiled faintly. Mzee, I hope the day finds you in peace. I came to honor your festival. The chief opened the envelope and his eyes widened. Inside was a deed to a new fishing dock and funds to rebuild the village school. The donation came from Mamba Holdings, a vast coastal enterprise whispered about in the cities. A woman in the crowd gasped. Mamba Holdings belongs to the silent billionaire, the one who hides among commoners to learn their hearts. All eyes turned to Amani, who stood speechless, the world spinning around her. Jabori looked at her gently. I never wished to deceive you, he said. I only wished to be seen for my soul, not my gold. Her father staggered forward, his proud frame shaken. You are the owner of Mamba Holdings? The man the governor himself came to see last moon. Jabori bowed his head. Titles mean little, Mzee. The forest taught me that riches can feed the belly, but love feeds the spirit. A hush swept the beach like wind over dry leaves. Then Mzee Bakari fell to his knees and pressed his hand to his chest. Forgive my blindness, he said, voice trembling. We judged with eyes, not hearts. Mama Zawadi wept softly, her head bowed. The spirits must truly favor our daughter, she whispered. For only destiny can hide a lion in the skin of a goat. Amani stepped forward, tears glimmering on her cheeks. You were never poor, Jabori, she said, voice shaking with emotion. But now I know you are truly rich. Jabori smiled and took her hands. And you, Amani Wa Barari, are the reason I found my wealth. The drums thundered again as if the ancestors themselves joined the celebration. The festival turned into a feast of laughter and songs, but deep beneath the joy, another current stirred, a secret Jabori had yet to reveal, one that would test their love beyond wealth or pride. As night fell, a messenger arrived from the capital, cloaked and breathless. He whispered urgently into Jabori's ear. The hunter's face darkened, and he excused himself from the dance floor. Amani followed quietly through the palms, hearing him say, "Tell them I will return. No one must know where I go tonight." What danger called him away from the festival's joy? The following dawn, a strange omen appeared on the beach, 3 white herons circling the same spot before vanishing into the clouds. The village elder murmured, "When herons fly backward, a forgotten debt must be repaid." Amani's heart chilled. What debt could haunt a man like Jabori? What would your elders say about judging someone's worth by what they own rather than who they are? The sea was calm that morning, but the hearts of the people were restless. Rumors drifted through the coconut groves like smoke. Some said Jabori had returned to the city. Others whispered that he had vanished into the forest where no man dares tread after nightfall, the forest where the spirit of the Mamba, guardian of secrets, was said to dwell. Amani sat beneath the ancient baobab tree at the edge of the village, clutching the shell necklace Jabori had given her. It was carved with the symbol of 2 intertwined waves. She traced it with her thumb, whispering, "Where are you, Jabori wa Mamba?" Just then, her grandmother, Bibi Salima, approached, leaning on her wooden staff. Her eyes were milky with age but sharp with wisdom. "Child," she said in a voice soft as sand, "when the moon hides, it is not gone. It only changes its path." Amani bowed her head. "Bibi, my heart feels hollow." He left without a word. The old woman chuckled. Men of destiny do not walk ordinary paths. When the spirits call, even kings must answer. She sat beside her and began drawing symbols in the dust, waves, serpents, and a crescent moon. "Do you know the story of the spirit of the Mamba, child?" Amani shook her head. Bibi Salima's voice lowered. "Long ago, before the first dhow sailed, the spirit of the great water serpent guarded these shores. He blessed those who were humble, but he cursed those who used his gifts with pride. Your Jabori's bloodline was touched by that spirit. His ancestors were granted riches of the sea, but bound by a vow, every generation must offer something precious back, or their wealth will turn to dust." Amani's breath caught. Then, Jabori is being called to repay that vow. The old woman nodded slowly. "So it seems. The herons you saw, those are his summons." Far inland, Jabori rode through the dense mangrove swamp on a small wooden canoe, guided by a single oil lamp. The trees rose like giants, their roots coiling into the water like serpents. His faithful hound, Simba, whined softly, uneasy. "I know, old friend," Jabori murmured. "The air is heavy with spirits tonight." At last, he reached a clearing where the moonlight fell like a silver spear through the canopy. There stood an ancient stone shrine covered in moss, carved with serpentine patterns. Jabori knelt before it and placed a gourd of palm wine and a strip of cloth dyed in ocean blue. "Great Mamba," he said, voice reverent, "I have come as promised." The air shimmered. From the pool before him, a mist rose, coiling into the shape of a massive serpent with eyes like molten gold. Its voice slithered through his mind. "Jabori wa Mamba," it hissed, "your father made a vow before me, and your grandfather before him. They kept their word. Will you?" "I will," Jabori said firmly. "Tell me what is required." The serpent's gaze deepened. "You have hidden among mortals, masking your fortune to test their hearts. You have found love, pure as spring water. But love must be proven. Bring me a token of her faith, a thing she cherishes most. Only then will your riches remain and your soul be spared." Jabori bowed his head, conflicted. "You ask for a gift that may wound the heart I treasure most." "All blessings demand balance," the serpent whispered before fading into mist. Jabori's hands trembled. Could he ask Amani for such a sacrifice? Would she understand? That evening, Amani stood on the shore, staring at the horizon. When Jabori appeared, his clothes damp and his expression heavy, she ran to him. "You're safe," she cried, embracing him. But as she looked into his eyes, she saw a shadow there, a secret unsaid. "I must tell you something," he said quietly. "My family's wealth is bound to a spirit's covenant. Each generation must offer something of true worth to keep balance. The time has come for me." Amani frowned, unsure whether to believe him. A spirit's covenant? Jabori, what could such beings want from us mortals? He took her hand. "Not gold, not jewels, something purer. The spirit of the Mamba has asked for a token of your faith. Something you cherish most." Amani hesitated, feeling the sea wind whip her ketenge around her legs. My most cherished thing, she repeated softly. Then she smiled sadly. That would be you. Jabori's chest ached. No, Amani. I cannot be the offering. I would rather lose every coin I have than lose you. She thought for a long moment, eyes fixed on the horizon. Finally, she unclasped the shell necklace from around her neck, the very first gift he'd ever given her. If this is what it takes to protect you, take it, she said. Let the spirits see that my love is true. Jabori took it, his fingers trembling. Amani, you do not know what this means to me. Nor you to me, she replied, tears glimmering in her eyes. That night, Jabori returned to the shrine, laying the necklace before the serpent spirit. She has given freely, he said. Let the balance be restored. But the spirit's laughter rumbled like thunder. You misunderstand, mortal. The test was not for her, but for you. Jabori froze. What do you mean? The mist swirled and formed the shape of a woman with eyes like the sea, ancient, powerful, sorrowful. You asked her to give. Yet you have not offered what you cherish most. His mind raced. His riches? His company? His life? He would give them all. Take my fortune, my ships, my lands. I ask only that she be safe. The spirit nodded slowly. Then your wealth will vanish at dawn. You will awaken as the hunter you once were, stripped of name and treasure. Only when your love remains unbroken will your blessings return. And with that, the forest fell silent. At dawn, the village awoke to find chaos. The convoy, the guards, the luxury, all gone. The docks built by Jabori's company stood empty. The papers, the wealth, the accounts, vanished like mist. The only trace left was a simple canoe on the sand, with Jabori sleeping beside it in his hunter's garments. The villagers murmured in confusion. Was it a dream? Had the spirits taken offense? Who is this man now? Amani rushed to him, kneeling at his side. His eyes opened, calm and tired. It is done, he said. The spirits have tested me. I am again who I was, a hunter. Her mother gasped. You have lost everything. Amani looked around at the murmuring crowd, then back at Jabori. No, she said firmly. He has lost nothing that truly matters. She helped him to his feet, facing her father, who stood speechless. You see, Baba, he may no longer have gold, but he still has honor, and me. Mzee Bakery's eyes glistened. He lifted his hands and spoke softly. Perhaps the spirits wanted to see if our hearts could recognize wealth not made of silver. The villagers nodded, murmuring proverbs, Mali bila roho ni kivuli cha makhana. Wealth without spirit is a shadow at noon. And so, the community welcomed Jabori back, not as a billionaire, but as a man of virtue. Yet, in the shadows of the forest, unseen eyes watched. The spirit of the Mamba had not finished its work. That night, Amani dreamed of the serpent woman again. She reached out her hand and whispered, Your love is strong, but his fate is not sealed. When Amani awoke, the shell necklace had reappeared on her pillow, gleaming with a faint blue light. Far away in the capital, a rival of Jabori's, Bwana Githu, a greedy tycoon, heard that the great Mamba holdings had fallen. He smiled darkly. The hunter has become prey, he said. And I, the serpent. What would your elders say about the price of love? Should it be proven through sacrifice or protected through trust? In the capital city of Mjiwa Nyota, where skyscrapers touched the clouds and the scent of roasted corn mingled with car fumes, Bwana Githu sat in his glass office overlooking the harbor. He was a man whose smile never reached his eyes. His skin gleamed with oil and his fingers were adorned with heavy gold rings that clicked whenever he tapped the mahogany desk. Before him knelt a trembling informant, one of the accountants from Mamba Holdings. You are sure? Githu asked, voice smooth but sharp. Yes, Bwana. Jabori has vanished. His wealth, gone. The company's accounts are frozen. Some say he is cursed. Githu leaned back, chuckling darkly. Cursed? Ha! The fool must have angered his spirits. No matter. His fall is my rise. He rose, his ketenge jacket glinting with threads of silver. If the people once worshipped him, I will take his place. I will buy his lands, his ships, his name. He looked out over the ocean, his reflection merging with the waves. They call him the hunter. But every hunter has his prey. And I am the serpent who waits. Meanwhile, in the quiet coastal village of Kiji Barari, Jabori and Amani began anew. Their days were simple but full, mending fishing nets, tending the fields, walking beneath the palm trees at dusk. The villagers had grown to love them, seeing how the once wealthy man worked with bare hands and a humble smile. Yet Amani noticed that Jabori often stared out to sea, lost in thought. At night he would wake sweating, whispering, "The waves call my name, the mamba watches still." One evening, as the sun bled orange across the horizon, Amani's grandmother, Bibi Salima, gathered the young people around the fire. The old woman's voice rose above the crackling flames. "Children of the earth," she began, "when a spirit gives, it does not forget. When it tests, it waits. The forest does not speak twice unless the lesson is unfinished." Amani listened closely. The words felt like a drumbeat in her chest. Was Jabori's test not yet over? That night she dreamed again. The serpent woman appeared in a field of water lilies. "A debt of love is not easily paid," the spirit whispered. "The man you love has chosen humility, but the world's greed stirs again. Guard him, for another serpent rises." Amani awoke with a gasp. The shell necklace glowed faintly on her chest, pulsing like a heartbeat. The next morning, traders arrived at the village market with gossip. "Have you heard? A rich man from the city, Bwana Githu, is buying all the coastal lands, even the docks near Barari. He says he will build a resort and bring jobs. But I hear his eyes are cold like the sea before a storm." Amani felt her knees prick her skin. She turned to Jabori. "That name, Githu, does it mean anything to you?" Jabori's expression hardened. "He was once my partner in business, before greed poisoned his heart. He coveted everything I had, even what the spirits gave." Her pulse quickened. "Then it is him the spirit warned me of." Jabori nodded grimly. "If Githu seeks the coast, it is not only for profit. He knows the land hides sacred waters, where the mamba dwells." Days later, Githu himself arrived in Barari, escorted by cars that shone like silver beetles. The villagers gathered in awe. He stepped out wearing a white suit and dark glasses, smiling wide. "My friends," he called. "I come bringing prosperity. This village will shine brighter than Dar es Salaam itself." He laid out plans for a massive resort, a paradise for tourists, he said. But Amani noticed how his eyes lingered on the cliffs near the mangroves, where Jabori often prayed. That was the sacred ground of the Mamba shrine. That evening, Githu visited Amani's father, Mzee Bakari, offering gold and promises. "You will be rich beyond measure," he said smoothly. "Just allow my men to dig near the mangroves." Bakari hesitated, torn between temptation and tradition. "That place is holy," he murmured. "Our ancestors forbid it." Githu laughed softly. "Elders fear old stories. I deal in real wealth." But Amani, standing nearby, stepped forward. "Some stories are older than gold, Bwana. And older things hold stronger power." Githu turned, his smile fading. "Ah, the hunter's woman. Tell me, do you still dream of palaces, or has the smell of fish replaced your perfume?" Her jaw tightened. Better the scent of fish earned with honor than gold drenched in lies. Githu's gaze flickered, venom glinting behind his grin. "Be careful, girl. Snakes bite quietly." That night, storm clouds gathered. Jabori went to the shore to light a lantern for the fishermen. Amani followed, clutching the glowing necklace. Lightning split the sky as wind tore through the palms. "The sea is angry," she shouted. "It is not the sea," Jabori replied grimly. "It is the spirit warning us." Suddenly, a group of men emerged from the dark, Githu's hired diggers. They carried tools and torches, heading straight for the mangrove grove. "Stop!" Jabori cried. "That ground is sacred." The men laughed. "We dig for the boss." Jabori ran forward, but one struck him with a wooden pole. He fell to the sand, blood streaking his brow. Amani screamed, rushing to him. From the darkness beyond the waves came a low rumble, a sound like thunder under the earth. The torches flickered. Then, one by one, the men's lamps extinguished, as if swallowed by unseen mouths. "Bwana. The ground moves," one shouted. The water churned. Shadows writhed beneath the surface. Githu, watching from a distance, cursed. Cowards! It's just wind. He stepped forward, holding his gold-tipped cane high. I do not fear spirits. But the moment his foot touched the sacred soil, a voice boomed through the storm. The serpent bites not the humble, but the proud. Lightning flashed, revealing a colossal water serpent coiling from the mangroves, its scales shimmering blue and silver. The men fled, screaming. Githu stumbled backward, his cane falling into the mud. Jabori, bleeding but conscious, dragged himself upright. Spirit of Mamba, he gasped, spare them. They know not the power they awaken. The serpent turned its gaze toward him, golden eyes glowing. You have learned humility, hunter. But your test is not complete. Will you save those who sought to destroy you? Jabori hesitated only a moment before nodding. Yes. Their greed is blindness, not evil. The serpent lowered its head. Then you shall have your chance. With that, it vanished, leaving behind calm waters and silence. By dawn, the villagers found the grove untouched. Githu and his men had fled, leaving behind their equipment. Amani helped Jabori to his feet as the sun rose, golden over the waves. You could have let the spirits punish them, she said softly. He smiled faintly. A man's heart must not mirror his enemies. Mercy is the sharpest weapon. From the crowd, Bibi Salima stepped forward, her eyes shining. Ah, my children, the ancestors sing your names this morning. You have chosen the path of balance. Then she added in a whisper, but the serpent does not sleep. It watches, waiting for the final offering. Amani shivered. Final offering. The old woman nodded. Every story of love has its last test, my child. That evening, a messenger arrived from MJIWA Nyota, bringing a sealed letter marked with Jabori's old company crest. Inside was a single line, your father's debt was not yet paid. Come before the moon wanes, or all shall be reclaimed. That night, Amani dreamed of the sea again. But this time the water was red, and Jabori stood alone upon it, calling her name as the waves closed over him. When she reached out, the necklace shattered into dust. When faced with those who wrong you, do you believe mercy brings peace, or should justice strike like thunder? The sun rose pale and cold the next morning, the waves dull as pewter. Jabori stood by the canoe, letter in hand, its words still burning in his mind. Your father's debt was not yet paid. Come before the moon wanes, or all shall be reclaimed. Amani joined him, her shawl drawn tight against the wind. So you will go? She asked quietly. I must, Jabori said. If I ignore this summons, the curse may fall not just on me, but on everyone I love. Bibi Salima approached, tapping her staff upon the sand. The ancestors do not call without reason, she murmured. But beware, child, the path to MJIWA Nyota passes through the river of ancestors. Those who cross must face their truth. Amani stepped forward. Then I will go with him. The old woman shook her head slowly. No, my child. Every heart must walk its own shadow. You have your own calling. The spirits of the mothers are waiting for you here. She pressed a small calabash filled with herbs into Amani's hand. Burn this at midnight beneath the baobab. They will answer. Jabori took Amani's hands, holding them tightly. Whatever happens, remember, my love is not of this world. It will not die with flesh or gold. Their foreheads touched briefly before he stepped into the canoe. The villagers watched in silence as he paddled into the mist, the horizon swallowing his figure. The river curved like a sleeping serpent through dense mangroves and reeds. Jabori rode alone, guided by the strange pull of the spirit realm. As he went deeper, the world changed. The air shimmered, the birds' cries slowed, and the color of the water deepened into midnight blue. When he blinked, he was no longer in his canoe. He stood barefoot in shallow water that reflected the stars like mirrors. The river whispered in many voices, some familiar, others ancient. Then a figure emerged, a tall man draped in robes of woven shells, his eyes glowing faintly. Who seeks the judgment of the ancestors? The man asked. Jabori bowed. I am Jabori W.A. Mamba, son of Bahati W.A. Mamba, grandson of Mwini W.A. Mamba. I seek to pay my family's debt. The figure studied him, then smiled faintly. Your tongue speaks truth, but your heart hides fear. Come, walk with me. They walked across the mirrored water. Beneath the surface, Jabari glimpsed faces, his father, his grandfather, and countless ancestors, their eyes watching, patient but solemn. The spirit guide spoke. Your forefathers were blessed by the Mamba for their humility. But one broke the pact. Long ago, your great-grandfather used the spirit's gold to build kingdoms, not to feed the hungry. The curse was sealed that day. Each heir must choose between love and legacy. Jabari's chest tightened. Then this was never only my test, it began generations ago. The spirit nodded. To end the cycle, you must do what no one before you dared, surrender both love and wealth, trusting the spirits to return what is just. Jabari frowned. Surrender both. If I lose her, what remains? The spirit's eyes gleamed. Faith, child. Faith is wealth no serpent can devour. The waters rippled, and in them, Jabari saw visions. A Mani kneeling beneath the baobab, lighting herbs as spirits circled her in light. Githu in the city, speaking to a shadow that took the shape of a woman with serpent eyes. The spirit guide raised his hand. Time is short. Go. The one you love stands between the living and the dead, and your rival courts powers beyond mercy. Back in Barari, night had fallen. A Mani sat beneath the baobab as Bibi Salima instructed. The moon hung low, and the air shimmered with unseen presence. She lit the herbs, and white smoke coiled upward. Spirits of my mothers, she whispered. If my love is true, show me the path. The smoke thickened, swirling into 3 figures, women draped in white, their faces veiled. Their voices overlapped like a chorus. A Mani wa bakery, they intoned. You are chosen to balance what men have broken. A Mani trembled. What must I do? The eldest spirit stepped forward. You must journey to the mountain where the sea is born. There you will find the pool of the first water. Bring its crystal to your beloved before the moon dies. Only together can you cleanse the blood vow of his ancestors. But how can I reach such a place? She asked. It lies beyond the borders of our land. The spirit smiled gently. Seek the lion with the broken fang. He owes your bloodline a debt. Before a Mani could ask more, the spirits dissolved into the night wind, leaving only the faint scent of salt and jasmine. By dawn, she set out with only her calabash and a walking staff. The villagers watched her go, whispering prayers. May the ancestors guard her path, said Bibi Salima. For love is a journey no map can mark. She followed the river upstream, the air thick with mist and memory. Hours passed before she heard a low growl. Turning, she saw a massive lion limping from the reeds, its maness streaked with silver, one fang broken clean. Instead of fear, a Mani felt a strange calm. Are you the one they spoke of? She asked softly. The lion bowed its great head. Your grandmother saved my cub from a hunter long ago, it said in a deep, rumbling voice. For that, I owe her bloodline a favor. Speak your wish. I must reach the mountain where the sea is born, she said, and bring back its crystal. The lion nodded. Then climb upon my back, child of grace. The road ahead is long and shadowed. She obeyed, and together they bounded into the wilderness, moving swifter than wind, through valleys and forests where the trees whispered in ancient tongues. Meanwhile, far away in Mjiwa Nyota, Githu sat in a dimly lit room filled with incense and gold. Across from him stood the serpent woman, the same spirit who had tested Jabari. But her eyes now glowed red, and her voice carried a cruel edge. Why do you call me mortal? Githu smiled greedily. Because I know what you truly are. The Mamba's treasure is not only gold, it is the power of eternity. Give me that power, and I will worship you. The spirit's laughter shook the walls. You offer worship, yet you lack humility. Still, your greed feeds me. She reached out a shimmering hand, pressing it to his chest. Take my mark, and you shall command the sea, but every wave will hunger for your soul. He gasped as a serpent-shaped scar burned into his skin. The spirit whispered, the hunter's love will be your undoing. Find him before the full moon, and all his light will be yours. Githu bowed, panting. Then the serpent shall have her feast. As the moon climbed that night, Jabari reached the outskirts of Mjiwa Nyota. The city gleamed like glass and fire, but something was wrong. Its streets were silent, the air thick with mist. When he stepped onto the pier, his reflection rippled, and he saw his father's face beneath it. "Baba," he whispered. The reflection smiled sadly. "You come to end what I began. Be wise, my son. The curse does not end with sacrifice alone, it ends with forgiveness." Before Jabari could speak, the reflection faded, replaced by Githu's shadow emerging from the fog. "Well, well," Githu sneered. "The mighty hunter returns from his swamp. Tell me, Jabari, do the spirits still favor you, or have they finally realized you're just a man?" Jabari met his gaze calmly. "Greed will destroy you, Githu. Walk away while you can." But Githu's serpent mark pulsed, glowing crimson. "You think love makes you powerful? Love is weakness. Watch as it devours you." He raised his hand, and the waters behind him surged, coiling into the shape of a giant serpent. Jabari braced himself as the river roared. The serpent lunged toward Jabari, but its reflection split in two, one half dark, one half radiant. The radiant half spoke in Amani's voice. "Hold on, my love. The mountain calls me still." Far away, Amani and the lion reached the foothills of a shimmering mountain. But the path ahead was blocked by a mist that whispered her name, and from within it came her mother's voice. "Amani, turn back. The sea claims all who seek its heart." When love is tested by destiny, is faith enough, or must one sacrifice everything to prove its strength? Thunder cracked across the heavens, splitting the air. The serpent made of river water lunged toward Jabari, jaws open wide enough to swallow the moon. He rolled aside just as it struck the pier, splintering wood and sending shards into the mist. Jabari gripped his spear, a simple hunter's weapon of carved bone and iron, and whispered, "By the breath of the ancestors, let truth guide my hand." The spirit guide's voice echoed faintly, "Remember, child, you cannot slay what is born of greed, you can only reflect its shadow." As the serpent coiled for another strike, Jabari held the spear upright. The metal tip caught the moonlight, and for an instant the weapon gleamed like a mirror. When the serpent lunged again, it saw itself, its hunger, its emptiness, and faltered, hissing. Githu screamed from the pier. "No! Obey me!" The serpent turned on him, confused. Its head split into two, one side glimmering gold, the other black as night. The golden side whispered in Amani's voice, "Release him, Githu. Your heart was once pure." But the dark side hissed louder, drowning her out, "Take what is yours. The river bends for no beggar." The struggle between the serpent's halves sent ripples through the water so fierce that Mjiwa Nyota trembled. The city lights flickered. Cracks formed in the glass towers, glowing with an inner blue light like veins of lightning. Jabari seized the moment, driving his spear deep into the pier and shouting, "Spirits of my fathers, cleanse this greed from your bloodline." The water around him glowed white. The serpent shrieked, not in pain, but in awakening. Then it dissolved into mist, leaving Githu gasping on his knees, the serpent mark burning across his chest. He looked up at Jabari, eyes full of shock and fury. "What did you do?" "I showed you yourself," Jabari replied quietly. "And it was never the river's curse, it was yours." Githu staggered forward, then fell into the water. For a heartbeat, Jabari thought to reach for him, but the river closed with a roar, swallowing his rival whole. Only silence remained. Meanwhile, across the lands, Amani stood at the foot of the mountain that gave birth to the sea. The mist before her shimmered with ghostly faces, her ancestors, her mother among them. "Turn back," the voice of her mother pleaded. "You carry mortal blood. The pool devours all who seek its heart." Tears streamed down Amani's face. "Mama, I must go. The one I love fights for his soul. If I fail, both worlds will break." Her mother's spirit stepped closer, her eyes filled with both sorrow and pride. "Then take this truth. Love without sacrifice is a river without source. It runs dry." She touched Amani's forehead, leaving behind a mark shaped like a crescent moon. The mist parted, revealing a narrow path of glowing stones leading upward. Amani climbed for hours, through cold rain, wind, and whispers of unseen beings. When she reached the summit, the world seemed to fall away. Before her lay the pool of the first water, a circular spring that glowed with shifting light, colors blending like dawn and dusk. She knelt by the edge, gazing into it. The reflection staring back was not her own, it was Jabari's, weary and wounded, standing on a broken pier. She reached out, and the water rippled. A deep, melodic voice filled the air. Child of Bakery, why do you seek the heart of the sea? She looked around, but saw no one. To cleanse a curse born of greed, she said firmly. To restore balance between the living and the spirits. The voice hummed. Then know this, the crystal of the first water cannot be taken. It must be earned. To claim it, you must surrender your name. My name, she whispered. But my name is my soul. So is love, the voice replied. One must give life to save another. Amani's hands trembled. She thought of Jabari's eyes, of their laughter beneath the palms, of the nights spent dreaming of a shared future. Then she said softly, if my name is the price, then let the spirits remember me even when I am forgotten. She placed both hands into the pool. The water seared like fire, yet it did not burn, it sang. Light burst from beneath the surface, forming a crystal that pulsed like a heart. She lifted it gently, now glowing with her breath and essence. The pool dimmed, but in her chest, a soft light began to shine. Back in Mjiwa Nyota, Jabari collapsed by the pier, exhausted. The river had calmed, but the sky churned with black clouds. He sensed something approaching, the final reckoning. From the mists rose the spirit of his ancestor Mwini Wa Mamba, regal and solemn. Jabari, the spirit said, you have faced your greed, but balance is not yet restored. The blood debt can only be paid when love and legacy are united. Jabari bowed. Then what must I do, Baba Mwini? The spirit's gaze turned toward the east, where lightning danced over the mountain. She comes with the crystal of remembrance. But beware, the serpent stirs once more, drawn by her light. Jabari looked up, determination burning in his eyes. Then I will meet her halfway. He stood, lifting his spear. The broken pier mended itself beneath his feet as if guided by invisible hands. He walked across the glowing planks, following the river's call toward the mountain. Amani descended with the crystal in her hands, the lion with the broken fang waiting at the base. You have done what few mortals dared, the lion said reverently. But beware, the serpent's hunger has not ended. She mounted its back once more. Together they raced across plains of mist, past rivers that glowed with starlight. As they neared the delta, the sky darkened again. A deep roar rose from the waters ahead, the serpent reborn, now vast and twisted, its body forged of both fire and shadow. Amani clutched the crystal tight. I will not let it claim him. The serpent struck, but the lion leapt aside. The beast's tail shattered trees as thunder rolled. You cannot fight it with strength, the lion roared. It feeds on defiance. Amani closed her eyes. Then I will give it peace. She stood on the lion's back, holding the crystal high. Spirit of the river, hear me. I do not fight you. I forgive the greed that birthed you. Be free. The serpent paused mid-lunge. Its burning eyes dimmed, its coils loosening. Slowly, it bowed its head toward her. The mark on its brow, the same shape as Jabari's ancestral symbol, glowed, then faded into light. From within the glow stepped Jabari himself, soaked but alive, his spear lowered. Amani, she leapt from the lion and ran to him. He caught her in his arms as the serpent dissolved completely, its essence drifting upward like mist at dawn. As the first light of morning broke, the river returned to calm. The spirit's whispers softened, becoming birdsong once again. Jabari touched Amani's face, tears glistening on his cheeks. You risked your life for me, he said. And you for me, she replied. Now the ancestors will rest. The lion bowed before them. The river sleeps, and the curse is ended. But remember, peace must be tended, like a field. Neglect it, and weeds will grow. Before they could reply, the lion shimmered into golden dust that drifted into the wind. They returned to Bar Ari together. The villagers, who had thought them lost, wept with joy. Bibi Salima lifted her hands and cried, the prophecy is fulfilled. The hunter has tamed the sea, and love has bridged the worlds. But when Amani opened her mouth to speak, she found no voice. The sacrifice had taken her name, and her words. Jabari understood at once. He knelt before her, touching her heart. If the spirits took your name, then I will give you mine. From this day, you are Mpenzi Wa Jabari, the heart of my courage. A gentle breeze passed, carrying the scent of jasmine and sea salt. The villagers repeated the new name in reverence. And in that moment, the air shimmered, Amani's voice returned, soft as song. Then may our love be remembered, she whispered. Even when names fade, the spirit remains. As the crowd cheered, a single drop of black water fell from the sky onto Jabari's hand, leaving a faint serpent mark. He frowned. The river still remembers. Far away in the depths of the ocean, Githu opened his eyes. Around him, the serpent's shadow coiled once more. The sea is eternal, he whispered. And so am I. When forgiveness breaks a curse, does it erase the past, or only teach us how to live with it? Night had fallen again over Barari, but the stars above shone brighter than anyone could remember. The villagers gathered in the square, singing praises to the spirits, their drums echoing like the heartbeat of the land. Bibi Salima stood before the crowd, her staff raised high. Tonight, the river sleeps in peace, and the curse is ended, she proclaimed. Let this day be written in the memory of our ancestors. The people cheered, dancing barefoot upon the sand. But as Jabari watched them, he couldn't shake the chill that crept along his spine. Every drumbeat seemed to echo the serpent's hiss he had heard on the pier. Every gust of wind carried a whisper, a reminder that the debt was only transferred, not forgotten. He turned to Amani, now radiant in a white kanga patterned with gold. Her eyes glowed softly, as though she carried light within her. Does your heart feel it too? He asked quietly. She nodded. Yes. The spirits are not done with us. There is something still unsaid. Before Jabari could respond, the drums abruptly stopped. The air thickened, heavy, charged. Then, from the darkness beyond the firelight, a low hum began. It was neither man nor beast, neither song nor silence. The flames bent toward the sound as a towering figure emerged, a man draped in robes of river reeds, his hair woven with shells that shimmered like silver scales. The crowd gasped. It is Mwini Wa Mamba. Bibi Salima whispered, falling to her knees. The founder of Jabari's line, returned from the spirit waters. The apparition's eyes glowed faintly blue. My children, he said, his voice rolling like thunder, you have undone the bonds of greed. But the river is restless, for its heart still lies hidden. Jabari stepped forward. Ancestor, we faced the serpent. We freed the river from corruption. What more must we do? Mwini's gaze softened. You have freed its body, yes, but not its soul. Long ago, I made a covenant with the sea spirits. I offered them my firstborn in exchange for wealth that would sustain our clan through famine. That child was never born, for the gods spared my wife. But the debt remained. The sea has waited, generation after generation, for the blood of my heir. Jabari's breath caught. Then, that debt falls upon me. Mwini nodded slowly. You are the first true heir of both land and water, the only one who carries my mark and the heart of a mortal woman. The sea calls for you, Jabari Wa Mamba. Amani stepped in front of him, her hand on his chest. No. He has given enough. If a debt must be paid, let it be me. I carry the crystal of the first water. My soul belongs to the sea too. Mwini's eyes glimmered with something like sorrow. Child of Bakari, your sacrifice already shines in the spirit realm. But the river's hunger is older than love. It demands return, not death. Bibi Salima spoke tremulously. Return of what, great spirit? Mwini turned to her. Return of truth. Return of identity. Jabari's wealth, hidden under false names, must be restored to the people it was taken from. The curse was never just upon blood, but upon the misuse of abundance. At that, murmurs rippled through the crowd. Jabari's eyes widened. You mean the gold that my grandfather hid in the city banks, the foundation of the Mamba fortune? The spirit nodded. That gold was born of the serpent's promise. It was meant for the hungry and the poor, not for palaces. Return it, and you will close the circle. Keep it, and the serpent will rise again. The fire flared as if the spirit's words carried heat. The villagers' faces reflected the light, awe, fear, and hope all at once. Jabari's voice broke softly. Then I will do it. All of it. Every coin, every stone. I will build schools, wells, homes, until the sea forgives us. Mwini's expression softened. You speak the words of a true heir. The Mamba name shall breathe clean again. Then his gaze shifted to Amani. But your journey too is not yet complete, child. You bear the crystal of remembrance, the bridge between our world and yours. It must be placed in the sea before dawn, or its light will fade. Amani nodded solemnly. Then we will go together. Before dawn, Jabori and Amani set out toward the shore. The tide was low, and the horizon shimmered in silver mist. They carried with them a woven basket filled with gold coins, ancient, engraved with the mark of the serpent. When they reached the water's edge, the waves seemed to whisper like voices of the dead. Jabori knelt and poured the coins into the tide. One by one, they sank, glowing faintly before vanishing beneath the surface. Amani held up the crystal. It pulsed with warm light, as if alive. "Spirit of the sea," she said softly, "take back what was borrowed. May this light guide your children, not bind them." She placed the crystal into the water. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the sea flared with radiant blue, not fire, but living light that rippled through every wave. The villagers watching from the dunes gasped as the glow spread outward, painting the horizon with brilliance. Jabori turned to Amani, astonished. "What have you done?" Her eyes glistened. "I gave it my voice again, and it returned the river's soul." The sea began to sing. Not with words, but with harmony, the deep music of creation itself. The waves curled and shimmered, forming shapes of spirits dancing, laughing, celebrating freedom after centuries of silence. Mwini Wa Mamba's voice echoed from the depths. "The debt is repaid. The Mamba name is cleansed. Live, my children, live with honor and love." The light faded gently as dawn broke. The people rejoiced. Barari became a village reborn. The cursed river now shimmered with clear water, the fields flourished, fish returned in abundance, and the children sang songs to honor Jabori and Amani. Yet peace, as Bibi Salima warned, must be tended. In the stillness of night, Jabori sometimes dreamed of Githu's eyes beneath the water, glowing like embers. He knew the serpent's hunger could return if greed took root again. One evening, as the moon rose, he asked softly, "Amani, do you think the curse is truly gone?" She smiled, her fingers brushing his cheek. "A curse is like a seed. It dies only if the soil of the heart refuses to feed it. We must keep our hearts clean, then no serpent will ever find us." He smiled in return. "Then let us keep tending the heart, together." She nodded. "Together, Daimar. Forever." As months passed, their story spread across the coast, told by fishermen, sung by griots, whispered by mothers to their children. "Have you heard," they would say, "of the hunter who tamed the sea, and the maiden who gave up her name for love?" They spoke of how wealth built on greed was returned to serve the people. Of how the river and the ocean now danced in balance again. Of how even the ancestors smiled when love and humility walked hand in hand. But one night, while Jabori slept by the fire, he dreamt once more of Mwini Wa Mamba. The ancestor's voice was softer this time, almost human. "Well done, my son. You have broken the curse of gold. But beware, the world beyond your village has its own serpents, and they wear fine robes." Jabori frowned. "Then what should I do?" Mwini smiled faintly. "Remember your roots. Wealth is not evil, only the forgetting of where it came from." When Jabori awoke, he felt peace in his heart. He knew his calling was not only to love Amani, but to guide others, to teach that prosperity and humility must live together, like land and sea. A fisherman ran through the village shouting, "A message from the city. The banks have released more gold than Jabori ever owned. The sea returned its own share." That night, deep beneath the waves, a faint light pulsed within the crystal. From it, a whisper drifted upward, balance restored, but not forever. When wealth and love meet, which truly defines a person's legacy? What they build, or what they return? The rains that followed Jabori's revelation were unlike any the village of Barari had seen in decades. The clouds came heavy and low, rolling like ancestral drums across the endless sky. When the first drop fell, the women lifted their heads and ululated, their cries echoing like birds released from captivity. The red dust that had once cracked their fields softened to the color of ripe tamarind. For 3 days and 3 nights, the rain blessed the land, washing away old curses and watering new beginnings. When the dawn finally broke, the sun rose in full majesty, a golden orb bursting through the grey like hope after sorrow. Its rays bathed the thatched huts, glistened on the banana leaves, and danced upon the river's now swollen banks. Barari had been reborn. In the center of the village square, a great gathering took place. The people came adorned in their finest kangas and kikois, the colors painting the morning like a living tapestry. The elders sat beneath the sacred baobab, where their fathers had once judged, sung, and told stories of old. There, Jabori and Amani stood before them, side by side, no longer the hunter and the maiden, but the symbols of unity, humility, and divine destiny. Mzee Kalonzo, his beard silver as moonlight, rose with the aid of his carved staff. He looked upon them with eyes heavy from witnessing both the folly and the wisdom of men. "Children of Barari," he began, his voice deep and steady, "our ancestors have watched. They have seen pride humbled, greed washed away, and love made pure. The hunter who came with nothing now brings us plenty, and the daughter who defied her family teaches us that true wealth is found in the heart." A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. Women nodded. Men clapped their hands softly in approval. Amani's parents, Nuru and Saida, stood among them, faces once tight with judgment now softened with humility. Saida, unable to contain her tears, stepped forward. "My child," she said, her voice trembling, "forgive the blindness of a mother who measured worth with gold instead of goodness." Amani took her mother's hands and pressed them to her chest. "Mama," she said, "you taught me to value integrity, even when it hurt. You planted the seed of wisdom that guided me here." Nuru, the father who once scorned Jabori, bowed before the young man. "You have proven yourself a true man of Barari," he said. "Not because of your wealth, but because you chose to serve rather than boast." Jabori lifted him gently by the shoulders. "Baba," he said humbly, "the measure of a man is not in what he owns, but in what he gives." The elder Mzee Kalonzo raised his hand for silence. "It is time," he declared, "for Barari to remember who it is. We shall honor the ancestors and celebrate this union, not just between two souls, but between truth and humility." A great cheer erupted. Drums began to beat, a rhythm ancient and unyielding. Women broke into song, their voices rising in joyful harmony. "Apendo ni nguvu kuliko dhahabu, love is stronger than gold." That evening, as twilight wrapped the village in its purple shawl, the celebration continued by the riverbank. The air smelled of roasted maize and honeyed tea. Children danced around the fire, their laughter ringing like cowbells in the wind. The griots sang tales of the old days, of spirits who blessed those who walked with honesty, and of fools who lost everything chasing shadows. Jabori and Amani sat together beneath the baobab. Between them lay a small wooden chest, the very chest Jabori had once carried when he came to Barari as a humble hunter. Amani opened it to reveal not treasures of gold, but scrolls, parchments of land deeds, village development plans, and letters from neighboring towns eager to trade with Barari. "We will build together," Jabori said softly. "Schools for our children, wells for our people, and a place for every hunter, farmer, and weaver to thrive." Amani smiled, her eyes reflecting the firelight. "And we will teach them that no one is small in the eyes of the ancestors." As they spoke, the air seemed to shimmer. From the shadows near the river came a gentle breeze carrying whispers, ancestral voices, faint but unmistakable. "Mwana wa Barari, Ulafanya Visury. You have done well, child of Barari." The flames danced higher, forming shapes, faces of long-gone elders, warriors, mothers, and kings, smiling, fading, then returning to the wind. A hush fell over the crowd as the elders stood, raising their staffs toward the heavens. Mzee Kalonzo spoke once more, "The ancestors bless this union. The balance between the living and the departed is restored." The people bowed their heads, the wind encircling them like an invisible cloak of peace. Years passed, and the story of Jabori and Amani spread beyond the borders of Barari. Traders who came from far coasts spoke of the hunter king who ruled with humility and the maiden of wisdom who turned pride into progress. Under their guidance, Barari prospered. The land yielded fruit, the rivers teemed with fish, and no child went hungry. Elders would gather the young beneath the baobab tree, recounting the tale as twilight fell. Once, a girl loved a man her parents called poor, but her heart saw what their eyes could not. The spirits tested them, the village watched them, and love proved stronger than pride. From their courage grew a new dawn for all. And as tradition demanded, the griot would end with a question, a seed of reflection for every listener. "Tell me, children of the soil, if love and humility can change a village, what might they change in you?" The children, their eyes wide with wonder, would echo in chorus. "We shall learn, elder. We shall learn." Then, as the stars emerged, bright and uncountable, The storyteller would smile and close the tale with words carried across generations. Na hivyo ndivyo ilivyokuwa. And so it was. What wisdom will you carry from this tale? Will you choose pride that divides, or love that unites? Thank you for watching this video to the end. I am pretty sure you enjoyed it. We have a lot of other interesting and beautiful stories lined for you already, so click on the image showing on your screen to watch the next one.